excellent. Take it off my jacket because I'm warm.
Yeah. And we are recording this just in case some people cannot join live.
Should I record it on my end also, or?
Yeah, it would be nice.
Okay.
Just let me check if Mari is here.
It says recording on my side here. So I guess I don't have to do anything on my end. If you're recording, Anna, on that end, if I do the pinning and things like that, is that good, or is that something you got to do on your end?
I have no idea.
No idea, because if we
No,
pin,
I'm going to put this in now. When Mari joins, I'm going to just do the speaker view.
okay, cool.
But I'm not seeing her.
I'm gonna pin you on my side and pin me on this side. And let's see, as people are showing up, good to see people here today. Josh, I'll pin you in a moment or two so you can help host with all that experience. And boom, boom, boom. So yes, as you guys are joining in today, I see some familiar faces. Awesome. Some people I haven't seen in a while. If you want to type in the chat, let us know where you're at, location-wise. Kind of curious. We get people around the world for these events. And as I always do these webinars, I always feel like I have something in my teeth. You know that feeling? Does my hair look okay? Right?
Looking great, Adam. Looking great.
Looking great. Okay, I'm gonna pin you, Josh. Your hair looks good too. Good. Anna's looking good there. All right, and scrolling through people, see where's Mari at? Let me see here. And Josh, I'll
You're
make
here,
you.
you can just raise your hands. That way we see you easier. But I
Oh
think
yes, you can raise hands. I forgot we
Yes.
can do that.
Yes.
And did you, Anna, did you make me, am I admin or something, or co-host?
Yes, you are the co-host.
Okay, cool. All right, Josh, I got you there. All right, and I see people. Let's see. Logan, good to see you there. Yay. Kathleen Redmond in the house. Awesome. Linda Murphy, excellent. Good to see you. Kim Ruska sitting next to Bonnie Potter. Awesome. Daisy Sunshine. Yay. Haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you. Petra, Allison, awesome. Susan Mills. We got England in the house. Yay. Awesome. Ruth, Lori's there, Christopher Holloman, awesome. Brenda, cool, good to see people, yay. One of these days, I kind of want to have a barbecue, invite all you guys over, right? Josh, I don't know if you're a co-host or admin or something, you should be able to, Josh is usually my shadow host, Anna, so if people's
Okay.
microphones get loud and stuff like that,
I don't
Okay, get him out of here.
get them out here.
getting Mari.
Yes.
That's a good thing.
Cool,
Let's see,
all right.
Josh, I cannot see you. I don't know why.
I'm over here.
Oops.
I mean, I see you, but it's like, you know that it goes like alphabetically. So I should see you in the sides.
Oh, I didn't know it
Here there is
oh,
Mari.
does it go alphabetically? I didn't know that. Mari.
Hey.
Hey, and
Come on, give us a more enthusiastic hello there, Mari.
hey, hey, hey. All right,
I
I'm
have to
gonna
work on that.
pin
Okay,
Mari.
so
Okay,
now you both, Beagles and Brothers, you are co-host, both of you.
All right,
excellent,
thank you.
cool.
Yes.
And Anna, just in case on your
You
side,
have the
Anna,
power.
Anna, if the recording is you, if
Yes.
you pin us, then it'll just be us on there as opposed to everybody.
I'm going to pin Mari, and I'm going to pin you.
Cool. Thank you for your patience, guys, as we get the
No,
logistics.
I
set
cannot
up here.
pin both of you. I can just pin one.
What? That's not
So,
true. You can pin. I
yes.
have 4 people pinned right now, so you're doing something wrong. There's a
Yeah.
spotlight or there's pin.
Here I have replace pin or spotlight for everybody.
Okay, well, it should be pinned. You should be able to add pins for, like I said, I have 4 people pinned. But
Yeah,
it is what it is. All right.
it
Mari,
is
you
what
have
it is.
such a
Well,
dark background.
I'm going to put the speaker view.
Uh-huh.
That way,
Cool.
the one is talking is the one that is going to be there, and
Excellent.
I let you like the honor of introducing this one.
Honor of introducing. Cool. And just real quick, we got people from Catalonia, yes, and Spain, Denmark,
Woohoo!
Utah, Florida, North Carolina, Texas, Australia, oh yeah, Canada, Ontario, Somerset, UK, Linda, New Zealand. Wow, we got the whole world here. Scotland, woohoo, yeah. This is what happens when we mention the word isopathics. Have you guys heard this word before, isopathics? Raise a hand if you've heard that word before. A few no's, a few yeses. Okay, cool. Good. Well, you guys are here, and so are we, and I'm excited about this. Let's introduce the whole experience. So, just to give a little intro on this, we're doing this with the University of Terrain, yay, Anna and I have put together, and the Biggleson Academy, Josh and I. And part of the idea is we want to we want to share awesome information with people. You know, Josh and I, our father did some very unique things and got some results that people weren't getting and kind of left us with this information. And people come to us, you know, at this point we're sharing, which is great. We didn't do a ton of things in this clinic. You know, Dad always said health is simple. People are complicated. And as we do things, you know, with Josh and I, we look at blood, we see blocks in the body, and we talk about osteopathy all the time, and structure, energy, emotions, and the spiritual body, our four bodies. And if you listen to us when we speak, for people that have done consultations as well, this word comes up, this magic word of isopathics. All right. It sounds a little bit like homeopathics, which is, there's something there for sure. Dad came across these, and I don't even know, Josh, when Dad came across the isopathics, but I'm curious with you, Mari. As Josh and I have our journey, and we have met people through our dad's experience. At one point in time, we met Dr. Marizelle Arce here, which is awesome. I think it was Louis reached out and made an appointment with me so we could chat. And Mari had been aware of Dad's work, which is awesome. Mari's got a journey and a half she'll tell you a little bit about. But the thing with Mari is she knows about isopathics. Dun dun dun. These are things we used in our clinic it's something that not a lot of people are aware of. Anna's been experimenting a little bit recently with some of the guidance of Mari as well and seeing how profound these things can be. And as we came across Mari, what's nice about Mari is she's had a similar journey as Dad's, where she went to school and didn't necessarily believe what they were teaching her, things like that. She ended up working actually with the company that was producing the isopathics. And Mari, we're going to have to send a video of this to Christine Jackson for sure. I wish we could have got her here. Some really interesting history here, guys. So, Josh is here, Anna's here, and Mari's here. With Josh and I, as we've come across Mari, we've been able to really incorporate her in some of what we do, as Josh and I are not doctors. And people need some of this guidance, and well, we can get in trouble for saying, take this if we're not doctors. So, with that being said, Dr. Marizelle Arce, come on down. Yay. And as we're all friends here, yes, Josh may interrupt at certain points in time, and that doesn't usually offend us. And I may jump in. Mara, you're muted, so if you want to, when you want to speak, just make sure you're not muted.
I have
But
a
I want to,
ruler in case he jumps in too fast. I have a
yeah,
ruler.
she's got a ruler. Nice. You guys remember the ruler? Whack. Josh will get whacked. So good. So today, information, you know, introducing you guys to this concept. This is not medical advice. We're not diagnosing. All right. As we go through this, if you've got some questions, you can put them in the chat. Josh may keep an eye on that, and Anna as well, and we'll see if we can get to some questions for you guys. But Mariza, Dr. Mari, why did we choose you? You're so qualified for this. Yay, you are the one. Tell us a little bit about yourself. And I'm curious, you know, as people here may know you and they may not. You got that book handy. You can show them your awesome book you have written, which you guys should know about if you don't know about this book yet. Germs are not Your enemy? Our enemy? I always forget the your or
Our.
our.
Our enemy.
Damn it. Germs are not our enemy. All right. So, author and practitioner. And yes, give us a little bit, Mari, about your journey and even the idea of how did you come across isopathics? So, take it away, Dr. Mari.
Hi. Hi, everybody. I hope you guys are all having a nice return from holiday season. I know all my patients are with their coughs and their sneezes and all sorts of wonderful symptoms that they get from overindulging, but I'm sure you all enjoyed yourself with either a quiet time or with family. Thank you for joining. And I am always so happy to discuss this topic as it is near and dear to my heart, since it's like intrinsic to what I do and how I think. And, you know, I think it's a very important aspect to health, which it should be incorporated even in conventional care as a primary uh, tool rather than resorting to intrusive, toxic, suppressive medications that we are all confronted with in regular medicine. Um, so yeah, I came from the conventional world. I went to regular conventional medicine for almost 2 years. I hated it. And by hated it, I mean because I came from an anthropological standpoint, because I came from an upbringing that was very grossly involved with culture and understanding the intricacies of the culture that utilizes food and environment and even thinking in the medicine and health. um you know Jumping into the conventional medical world was disheartening because they did not see medicine or health in that way. And it it kind of made me upset because my whole life I wanted to be a doctor. Well, I wanted to be a person that helped people heal. And so doctor was the thing, right? So you go back into the 90s or even the 80s, that's what it was, right? You wanted to be a doctor. There was no really other practitioner at the time that was kind of in the forefront, unless of course you were engaged in environments where there was a chiropractor or an osteopath. But in my environment, it was a doctor that had the tools, had the mindset, had the education to really truly troubleshoot, any given situation. So I wanted to be a doctor. So that didn't work out because I it didn't feed my need to help people in the true sense of the word. So I found naturopathic medical school and I went there. And shortly into my starting it, I was confronted with getting a job that would, pay a little bit of, some of the things I needed, right? Food and clothing and shelter while I was in school. So it was the Sanam group, which at the time Sanam is in Europe, and in the United States it was called Pleo Sanam. And Pleo Sanam was looking for a rep. And their products were some of the isopathic products produced by Gunther Enderlein, and the other products were produced by Kelbeck. And then obviously further on, there were other remedies that were created. So I took the job. I took the job because it was offered to me because it really answered a lot of the questions that I had in terms of why is it that there are inconsistencies in the way people display illness or symptoms or disease manifestations, because it answered the question that it had to do with the imbalance within the body and the stimuli, right? The environmental capacity with which a person can be influenced by the environment. And it really gave a clear picture as to what was going on. Meanwhile, also, I was also introduced to isopathics in a different form. So in when I teach isopathics, I predominantly talk about the isopathics from Gunther Enderlein and Kelbeck, the Sanam remedies. But isopathics as as Adam had said, isopathics are similar, not the same, but similar to homeopathy, but they utilize something completely different. Whereas homeopathy is utilizing substances that can elicit a similar response within the body. So isopathics are using substances within your body, right? So isopathics are, iso is the same, where homeopathic is similar. So in school and before school, I was actually I was learning about another doctor who had his other form of isopathics, and he utilized essentially organs and body parts and things like that of and the isopathics of those parts of the body as remedies. And so I learned about that, and then that kind of full pictured me the whole idea of the Gunther Enderlein and the Sanum remedies, which were the forms, right? The microzymas in a specific forms and doing their specific things and excreting certain things and offsetting certain things. And so it completed my understanding of what health was, right? Health is an imbalance, right? Not health is imbalance. Ill health is an imbalance. So not having balance is when you start to have symptoms, and that's what's called illness or disease. So I went through school already from the offset of knowing that germs didn't cause disease, um, that, we're not supposed to fight against the symptoms. We're supposed to use them as ways of understanding and unlocking what's inside, what's going on, to appreciate and understand and translate, right? So we essentially, as a practitioner, as a person who owns a body, so if you don't own a body, you're not going to really relate to this. So if you own a body, you relate to this. But um, you're translating. You are the Rosetta Stone of what's going on, right? And many of us haven't learned that language, right? We're taught that we don't understand that language, and so whatever it is we think is happening, we have to stop, or we have to change, or we have to alter. Whereas when you start to learn the dynamic of the body, you get the gift of understanding of that translation. You start to work with it and you start to understand it and you start to see these progressions and how things start to manifest. And so you can really kind of support the system in the way it really wants to be supported so it can do the best it can. And eventually symptoms don't have to be so exaggerative, right? We don't have to have explosive diarrhea or, you know, high fevers or vomiting or eruptions on our skin. We now know that if there's an imbalance within our system, we can support that so it doesn't have to go to extreme measures to excrete or eliminate all these things that compound within us. So isopathics are under, the Sanum remedies are really good at helping with the translation, along with helping kind of support the system become more efficient, do the thing it needs to do so desperately without getting to a point of suppressing and, affording the body an opportunity to really rid itself of what it's really trying to rid itself. And there's an art to that. And I really, that's the other thing, is that it's not like a thing that you can have one remedy for one thing. It's not a single causation type of thing, because again, there's no such thing as a single causation or a single remedy, right? Because if that were the case, vaccines would work, right? Because there would be a single cause and a single remedy and everything would work and then it would be done. But there's no such thing as that. So again, it's all about understanding what your body's looking for. And sometimes it wants more, sometimes it wants less, sometimes it doesn't want anything. And sometimes it's just a matter of waiting and seeing. So, understanding that is another, aspect. Even if you honestly know how the remedies work or how to apply the remedies, apply, have the understanding and knowledge of application, it's still a process of understanding. It's kind of like, okay, you have two children, right? And I'm sure many of you can agree with this. If you have two children, or even two dogs or two cats, what happens to one and you help them with that one thing or the two things that are happening. And then you start to see something happen similarly to the other. Doesn't necessarily mean everything that you did with the one is going to be applicable for the two, right? And people who have children know this. What when one has this type of like cough or cold or fever or whatever, you do this and it's like, oh wow, that's great. Okay, the other one, you do it. Wait, how come it didn't work? How come that homeopathic didn't work? How come that isopathic didn't work? How come when I gave him this or I didn't give him that, this changed into something else? So having children, even having children that are again of the same blood, of the same environment, of the same, essence and surrounding, may not necessarily have the same need the same things when they are detoxing and eliminating that which they don't need. So the understanding of using isopathics and things that are similar to isopathics is appreciating that it's not a one size fits all, and that again, even if you know how, and I sometimes am surprised at how certain remedies, like Josh knows sometimes, like I'll be like, oh, I use this remedy and it didn't do this, but the other remedy you did this. And it's like, we'll have conversations about how one remedy does this or that, or doesn't do this, or, and it's very fascinating how some people just, there's a certain resonance almost that for some people, a remedy that is supposed to do a certain thing doesn't, but the other remedy does, when it's not exactly how you're taught how the remedy is supposed to. So again, we're very fascinating in terms of our biology and our mentality. And every day, I actually was talking to a good friend of mine earlier today. She actually wrote a really good book, What Really Makes Us Ill, Dawn Lester. And I was telling her, I said, it's really fascinating is you never really know. Humans are so fascinating in that to be a good practitioner is to constantly be open and learning. So if you're a practitioner, and again, I don't mean to offend anybody, but if you're a good practitioner and you're resorting to protocols, and that's all you do is protocols, everybody knows, if everybody knows me, he knows me well enough, I don't do protocols. But if you're a practitioner with protocols and you're doing protocols, and okay, and you have the luck that most of the people are doing well on protocols, good for you. But it will answer the question as to why 20% of the time that protocol doesn't work, right? So if you're a good practitioner, yeah, there's a backbone sometimes because again, we're all biologically very similar, right? There's a backbone to what certain things can do, but at the end of the day, it's still every person in their environment, in their experience, in their body is unique. So it's really goes back to what being a good practitioner is, practicing an art and questioning constantly and learning constantly and being humble to that experience, because I
Yeah.
I think that's important.
Sorry, I'll interrupt you for a second there,
Go ahead.
Amari. 'Cause I think it's important. I know it's a big part of your course is you don't heal with protocols. So if people are looking for a cookie cutter course to say, okay, in this situation I can open up and then I can use this remedy, that's not the way any remedy should be utilized. It takes the individual out of the equation, and that's when
Right.
people start to miss. I had same arguments with that company that you worked with when they called and wanted to talk to us about the new protocols. And it's like, no, no, we don't believe in protocols. And, I wasn't really nice about it because I learned from dad how to not have tact, and, we kind of got into it and that was a fun conversation. But I do like that that's an important part of your course. And, Dad, Adam started using them in the 80s. So we're really familiar with them. And I'm really happy that you're teaching the course because, you know, Dad's first teacher with these remedies said if you can cure somebody with these remedies, you can kill somebody with these remedies also. So, although there's similarities to homeopathics, they're significantly stronger in many, many ways. And you have to be aware of some of the reactions that you might stimulate with these remedies. We always did everything in-house with the remedies, so Dad would monitor the case, and he knew exactly what was going to happen as far as the reactions goes. So it's you don't want to say it's trial and error, but there's a lot of experience that goes into utilizing these remedies.
Right.
And the way Mari teaches it is really good because I was taught differently in a really intense clinic atmosphere. So we were using heavy remedies and monitoring it. Everything was heavy, heavy, heavy. But if I was to tell somebody from a distance to try this remedy at a strength that was too strong, I'm going to evoke a reaction that they might not be able to handle. And then because there's not a doctor there, then they could run into some other complications also. So I appreciated the way you taught the course in terms of obviously understanding the power of these remedies, but also knowing it's not cookie cutter. There's a foundation that you have to learn. A good place maybe to start here too, Mari, is explain what an isopathic is. What is the actual remedy? Because in this world where everybody is so afraid of germs, what are the isopathics in relation to germs?
Good question. Thank you for the segue. Um, so isopathic. So again, what I predominantly teach are the Sanum remedy isopathics. Because again, anything that's made of a human, made of the body biologically is an isopathic, right? So if I took blood and I kind of diluted it a bit and dosed it into something, it would be technically an isopathic. So we're predominantly talking about the Gunther Enderlein and the Kelbeck remedies that are made by Sanum Kelbeck, which is found in Germany, the company Sanum. So the isopathics are so inside of us. Again, if some of you read my book, some of you have not. Uh, Germs are not our enemy. Part of that book is describing what's inside of you and what you're working with, right? Because we're not working alone. We're not just one isolated organism living in a context surrounded by so much life. We actually have a universe within us, and we are host. We are host to this universe, and the life that's inside of us that is not measured by conventional medicine, um, they're called microzymas by Antoine Béchamp. So if we were to look at Enderlein, Gunther Enderlein, he called them protists. And so if you look in a dark field microscope, which I'm sure many of you have seen pictures and images that Dr. Bigelson had posted or on the Academy, or even just have the experience of looking at dark field microscopy, you'd see in the background behind the red blood cells and the white blood cells, you'll see these little sparkly things. And those are the microzymas. Those are the precursory forms of bacteria, fungus, etc., etc. These microzymas are essentially working with you to do the jobs that are necessary to keep you alive. Um, when the terrain changes, when the soil of the body changes, they have to adapt to those changes to become an organism that's capable of not only surviving the environment, but capable of doing the job that they need to do in order to bring your body back into a balanced state, homeostasis. The remedies are essentially those microzymal forms before they get into the bacterial or the fungal forms. So they are, again, the precursory, the maintenance, what's considered the maintenance forms of the microzymas. And so when you get a remedy that says, for instance, like pleo knot would be one name of the remedy, or symbio knot, or notochel if you're in Europe. That's a type of fungal form that is in its precursory state. So it's not penicillin. So it's not penicillin in the form that penicillin is known to be, but it is the precursory form of penicillin. So it would be like the most simplistic way I can say for people to wrap their brains around it is kind of like the spores. Like if you want to imagine what spores look like, it'd be the spores. But it's not really the spores, but it's kind of like the spores. And what they're doing is essentially you're going to intake that, and it's going to tell your body, hey, we're here, we're beefing up the joint, we're going to clean up, and we're going to get it all out. And so your body can now relax because it doesn't need these aggressive forms anymore, these bacterial forms or even fungal forms to get the job done. Now they have buddies, they have more buddies to get the job done in a more efficient way. And so all that snotty, runny nose, that scratchy throat, that rash starts to kind of dissipate because now the body has much more of an even Steven way of doing it. Outside of, again, talking about, you know, whatever other issues that maybe have happened or occurred because of, you know, why you're expressing those symptoms.
I'm just sharing, I was trying to share a video. Can you see my video of some
Yes.
microzymas, guys? Some of you may know the microzymas, the little guys moving around, as nanobots.
Yes.
So, not true. Yeah, it's really an amazing thing. The idea that as we talk about pleomorphism, these little guys morph into bacteria and fungus in the body to help support us. The homotoxicology chart talks about inflammation being bacterial and then other stages being fungal. So, what's going on as you guys are listening to this is the body is literally creating the remedies that we need. This is what Mari's talking about. So sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you there, Mari, but I just wanted to at least
Okay.
give a
No,
visual.
it's good. It's good.
Cool.
Fantastic. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's important. Again, there are some visual learners. And some people have read my book and said, you know, it'd be really nice if you actually had pictures in your book. So I was like, I get it. I get it. There's some visual. I'm a visual learner too, so sometimes to have to kind of see it, see them moving around, see them doing their thing, it gets us to conceptualize like how tiny they are.
Yeah.
And they're actually, that's not even their tiniest form, but that's essentially the forms that they're going to be in when you get the remedy.
Right. And this to me is something that's just so amazing that the body is literally creating these remedies. And why are we using them? We're doing it's minute doses of things that stimulate the body, and then it starts to kick into gear.
Hmm.
You know, it's really there. To me, it amazes me what really goes on. The more we learn about our body, we're creating our own remedies. You know, the reality is every action equal and opposite reaction. I remember Dad saying this. If we introduce something into the body that's not supposed to be there, it can create a reaction that's not supposed to be there. So you're literally working with nature's own intelligence along, I mean, you're supporting the terrain, just very simply.
Well, on those little guys, the microzymas there, I mean, many names for them, but you know, they create all life as we know it. That is the single most important particle that I've ever come across. And obviously, if anybody's calling on nanobots out there, they should have their microscope immediately confiscated, and they should be brought up on charges for crimes against intelligence.
Settle
So
that.
these things have been around forever, but they're the single most important thing I think there are. All life will come from those particles, and I can't overstate how important they are to understand and monitor.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's really, I mean, you can almost have an entire discourse on them and their existence and the study of the, you know, how Enderlein studied them and Gaston Naessens studied them and even Wilhelm Reich and his bions, you know, everybody studied them in a different aspect. And, you know, it's sad because across the world you have different people studying different things and they're not connecting to one another, knowing that they are studying the same thing. And you know, I've noted even more as I've, you know, I do a little bit of my own microzymal research kind of thing, and I continue to see how there's so many different names for them and people have not connected that somebody else is this, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's just that we're just not, either it's ego and somebody wants to say that they discovered something, which I can totally, I get it. You know, you want to be the one that says, aha, I figured it out. I figured out life. And then there's people I think that just are not, like, they're so stuck in their little lab and their little world that they don't realize that there's a world outside of them that that even over a century ago, more than, oh my God, almost 2 centuries ago, that someone already figured this out. They just
Yeah.
didn't continue researching it.
It really amazes me over the past few years that you've got these people that find a microscope and they see something and they think they're the first ones in the world that's ever seen this.
Uh-huh.
You know, with Josh and I, we've talked about them as symbionts, microzymas, proteits, what was it?
Somatids, somatids, bions, activator progenitors. There's so many different names for them.
Even Plato, we had heard, talked about microscopic particles that are the building blocks of life.
Yes.
So it's really interesting, Mari. For Josh and I, when people come across us in Dad's work and they say, "Where have you been?" My whole life. We've been here doing this. Dad worked with us for 30 plus years. You know, this is not new stuff, guys. It's just it's not common. All right. And can I ask you this, Mari? Was there when you first came across the isopathics, uh, was there was there a moment for you where you were kind of like, what is this? Or a wow moment, like you saw something work? I know with Anna is interesting because Anna's traveled the world and she's got tools in her toolbox. And Anna, the MMS and the CDS and the DMSOs and the alphabet soup experience. And then we come into the picture with the isopathics. And it's funny because even Anna's going through her journey and doing stuff, and then there's that point in time where all that stuff isn't working, and then she asks me, or the person that's closest to you, we don't always look at or ask questions, but we guide her towards you. And then she's seeing, Anna, you're seeing, wow, one of these, at one point, Mari was having her take one of the tablets and even like crunch it up and put it in water and just take some of that water and put it someplace. So it's a little intense depending on what's going on. But yeah, did you have any of those moments in the beginning that was just kind of like, I don't know what this crap is, or wow, this really works?
I think when I first discovered it, when I was first presented with the idea of being a rep for the company, and I saw, they gave me a pile of research to read before I got my interview to to get the job. I hoped it was the answer to a lot of things that I had a question for. So it was more initially it was a hope. I was like, please let this be the thing because it makes so much sense, right? It answers a lot of questions of what quote unquote autoimmune was, or why people have such latent or chronic issues, or, why certain things manifest in a certain way. And it really was like a hope. And then as I started using them, it was kind of like, yes, like sometimes it would work and it'd be like, yes, it works, it totally works, this is totally awesome. When a woman had cervical dysplasia and, they were even talking about she's going to have a procedure to get it removed, or it might turn into cancer or whatever it may be. And so it was 3 weeks, just 3 weeks of using a specific sort of remedy kind of thing, different remedies, and then to see that it's gone, like it was gone, like she did nothing else. Like we wanted to do a very scientific assessment and just be like, don't do any other supplement or any other thing, just do that. Let's see how it goes. And it was like, getting it checked again 3 or 4 weeks later and seeing that it was gone was like, it works, it does, I love it. And it was things like that. I mean, there was instances where you could see a person's issue was multifaceted. So we're looking at the remedy as being a supportive, and it was going to be a lot much more long-term thing. And then there was times in which it was just like instantaneous. It was using like the eye drops, for instance, for a plugged lacrimal gland in a baby, and seeing that disappear within 24 about 30 hours, where they're, everybody's like, oh, no matter what you do, you could put eye drops, you could do, it's going to take weeks if not months, just 24, 36 hours and it's gone. So yeah, there's definitely, I have a tendency, I had to be a little more idealistic than skeptical when it comes to something that's more attuned to the body, more natural versus a chemical. So if you told me, like, you came up to me and was like, oh, methylene blue, blah, 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 I would be like, no, I need to see its action. I need to understand it. Like, I'm more skeptical when it comes to a man-made product versus, something that I can extract from my own blood. So yeah, I was very enthusiastic and hopeful about
Nice.
where I can go with this.
It's interesting as you say that, and Josh, with us, it's kind of funny too. It's could be the answer. You're looking for something. And it's still, as I listen to you, it's not about protocols, people. It's about patterns. And each individual has unique patterns. All right. So as we've talked to people, they've done everything. Some of you guys have said this to me already. We look at the blood, we have the conversations. I've been everywhere. I've seen everyone. I've done anything. And Josh and I mentioned osteopathy, and people go, "Oh, well, I haven't done that." And then we mention isopathics, and they go, "Ooh, I haven't done that either." All right. So this is one of those things that people don't know about. People are searching, people are having these mysterious conditions, and many people shoot in the dark is one thing. When we look at blood, we see things very quickly and easily. Mari, this is an awesome tool that you have. And most people know about a little bit about homeopathics. Most people know a little bit about the flower remedies, things like that, flower essences, which is great. This to me is that next level. It's the next step. And even with you, Anna and Josh and Mari, all of us as we educate people and empower them so you guys can learn to take charge of your healthcare. We're showing the terrain, we're looking at nature and seeing how things are working there. This is one of these things that we could all have in our first aid kit.
Agreed.
Yes, and it's definitely, I still am amazed with some of these things. Dad used only 7 of them. There's more than that. Even just recently, I had little warts happening on my elbow all of a sudden. It was kind of weird, some stagnation. I mentioned it to Anna, who said, "What about that cream?" Which, Mari, I never thought about using this cream on warts. I mean, we're used to using capsules with cancer people and things like that, or injecting these things. And just to experiment, I put the cream on the wart, and a few days later, it's gone. I went for another one, and it was funny. I was rubbing the cream on it, and it rubbed the wart right off. Now, I say this because I'm still discovering, I'm learning about these things. It's not a rocket science experience, but it's not just grab a bunch of pills and start popping pills and see what happens.
Yeah,
Right?
there's some inherent power with these remedies that's very different than anything I think, my father and I ever utilized. And Dad, he was a medical detective, so he went around the world trying to find different remedies, and he came down to the most supportive remedies he ever used were the isopathics. And for us, some people know us, we do when we had clinics, we would do blood before and after every treatment to see if there was a reaction. And then he would notice with homeopathics, it took a longer time in certain instances to get a reaction, whereas the isopathics, there was an immediate reaction. And if he didn't see a change in the blood that he knew he missed, then that wasn't the right remedy for that situation. And although certain situations pop up and you immediately think of one remedy, a lot of times you got to put in your detective hat. I've reached out to Mario a few times and say, I've got this going on. I've worked with this. It didn't work. And she says, well, what about this? And I thought, well, I've never thought about using that remedy for this. And that worked. And then Mari reaches out to me at one point with an eye issue, and I said, "What about these drops?" And she said, "I never thought about using those drops for that." And so it was interesting that, you really have to put on your detective hat sometimes, but first you have to understand how the remedies actually work, because they're extremely powerful.
Right.
Absolutely.
And it's definitely, it's, you got to think a little bit with this. And it's so funny too because some of you guys are excited and you're going to go get some isopathics. Just to let you know, the one that we typically use for people's gums, the indications on the packaging say for rectal itching. So just know that the company that has designed them, I don't even know that they really understand what they have
No,
going
the
on.
indications are hilarious, Mari. It's like it's obvious that the company themselves don't actually understand some of the remedies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly think also it's more of a packaging, selling out of state kind of thing. So they
Yeah.
can't be like, oh, this is for, and let me list all the things it does kind of thing, or list something that is questionable, right? Like it's not going to be like for multiple sclerosis and neurodegenerative, you know what I mean? It's going to be like it's for diarrhea.
Right, 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 right. Well, and can you talk about that for a moment? What are these remedies in general mostly used for? Like, what are they most useful for?
That's a good question, and that's a huge question. It can go from acute to chronic. It can go, I mean, I've used it again for a stuck lacrimal gland to, people with cancer and supposed diagnosis of HIV or you know, brains masses or severe arthritic or neuro, even degenerative joint issues,
Yeah.
spine issues, spinal cord issues, brain stuff, mental stuff, even,
I guess a better
psychiatric.
I
Yeah.
guess a better yeah, they're very powerful for that. That's for sure. I guess a better question would be when would you not use them?
What
Because
can't I eat?
you're
What
right. 'Cause
can't I eat?
I don't
Yeah.
ever remember Dad saying, "Okay, let's do this treatment, but don't put any isopathics in it." I don't ever remember him
Right.
saying that
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
once.
That's like that. What can I eat? What I can't eat? No, what you can't eat. How can I have a list of what I
Mhm.
can't eat?
Right. Yeah. What can't you
Uh,
do?
what wouldn't I do? So, the biggest, and I said this in my course, and the people who are here that have taken the course already, my number one biggest thing is when I don't use a remedy, is when you don't have the modes of elimination working, right? So if a person is not excreting, if a person is really like stuck, really stuck, and it could be compounded with specific medicines. So like you're not using, so if we were to really kind of let's say pretend, okay, let's say we're all sitting here and we're in the conventional world, right? We're pretending, let's say we're all conventional medical people. The isopathics are like probiotics. So what would you not use with a probiotic? An antibiotic,
Yes.
right? So, that again, people who have taken the course before know you don't do it with a person who's stuck, because if you're stuck, it's kind of like I imagine one of those my kids have those jelly bally things and there's water inside with the stars and you shake it up. Now imagine you're this person is kind of like this ball, that's this enclosed ball that can't leak, and the isopathics are literally squeezing that ball. Where's the water going to go? Nowhere. It's just going to get all stirred up and it's not going to go anywhere and it's going to contort and stress the system,
Yeah.
right? So that's one thing why you would one reason you wouldn't use it. And then the other reason would be is if you're on massive amounts of medication, it's hard to elicit elimination, hard to exact an appropriate response if you're taking suppressive medications,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
that's tough. I mean, I
It's a,
have worked with people who took antibiotics and then took isopathics right after, and you're not going to see this really huge fantastical thing. Although I do see it with children more, they're very much more responsive. Like young children are way more responsive to different things that they're influenced by. But when you're in the older stages, when your body takes a longer time to repair, um it's harder to see those changes manifest
yeah.
in that way. So now if you're influencing the body with a chemical, right, an antibiotic, anti-inflammatory, an anti, like a hydrocortisone type of thing, or a blood pressure modifier or something, and you want you want to do something with isopathics, you're not going to see those changes right away because you've changed the terrain in a different way. It's been chemicalized and now the body still needs to decompress from that.
I think that's interesting you say that, Mike, because we've seen that. As you know, Josh looks at someone's blood, we have the conversation. One thing you've heard us say, some of you guys listening, pathways of elimination first. So this is where we're always saying osteopath, open up. If things can't come out, don't start putting things in. All right. Now, the other thing too is pathways of elimination, you mentioned. If we're on, and that's what I was going to say, we've seen this. We've seen people in interesting spots, and then you start to work with them. Reactions can be interesting if people don't understand what to expect from certain reactions. Then they can have a moment, a freak out, and then our default, most of the time, people go right back to an antibiotic. And in the midst of you working with someone, going through a program of sorts, then they introduce the antibiotic. That's very counterproductive. All right. If they had been through the antibiotic experience and post antibiotics, you're working with them, they're getting the isopathics involved, that is going to definitely contribute to helping them manage and deal with what went on antibiotically. But if people start introducing the antibiotics while the isopathics are happening, it's kind of like a waste of money. I mean, it's kind of, yeah, it's the opposite, exact opposite. Isopathics are not suppressive in any way, shape, or form, are they?
No, no, they're if you're not careful, they're very expressive. They're very, very expressive. So, depending upon which remedy you use at what time and how you use it, it's very expressive. So you have to be very diligent in observing the needs and requirements of the body and the dosage.
Yeah,
And it's again, there's situations where I can slather myself in one of the remedies and nothing happens because my body already has that system and work in play. It doesn't do anything. It's not instigating toxic release because there's no toxic release to be had in that form.
right.
But if I were to take something else where, for instance, I'm having kind of gastric issues and I feel I'm a little congested in that area, um, I'll take a tiny microdose of that and I'm running off to the bathroom because my body wants to eliminate out what's ever in my intestines.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and can you talk for a moment too, for you guys listening, when Dad was doing isopathics, he had people right in front of him. Josh mentioned this a little earlier at the clinic, and then Dad, if there was something that went on and he pushed buttons, the idea was always to push people just beneath the aggravation level, not to aggravate the body. But if he gave someone something and there was that reaction, then he was there to manage that.
Mhm.
And as kids, even, it was funny, Maria said this story the other day. If I'm not feeling great, I could say something to my dad, and depending on what was going on, Dad would say, well, I can treat you if you want, but realize one of a couple things may happen, depending on where you're at in the line. All right, I can treat you and you can feel better, or I can treat you and you can be worse. You can feel mildly sick for the next 4 days, or you may be really sick today once I treat you, because it's going to help to push things through that whole experience, right?
Right.
So they can be very intense. You, though, on the other hand, as you work with people from a distance, it's kind of nice the way you've worked with Anna. And as I watched it, you tread a little lightly. You're doing things in a way where the buttons are not going to get pushed too much. There's not going to be the aggravation level at all.
Right.
But you'd introduce things, and then Anna has to observe. And then you have to have the conversation to see what's going on, correct?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah, I'm not a huge, I mean, even when I had a clinic and I had patients and they can come back anytime they want, I wasn't a huge fan of creating an aggravation because a person is leaving my office, going home and driving in a car and dealing with their family members, having to deal, a person doesn't want to go through major flu-like symptoms even for 24 hours if they have to live. So I'm more of if you have the patience, we can get through this. You just have to, take it step by step. It just might take a little while longer than to go through like vomiting, diarrhea, fever, malaise, that type of thing. We may not want to do that unless, of course, you can convalesce. If you could do it, then awesome. And most people can't. Like most people just can't do that. So
Yeah.
Yeah, we were more impatient in our family. I was like, just give me the shot, Dad.
yeah, no, I don't. The only reason I don't do that is because a couple of times when people do that, there's a resource loss, right? So now you have, if you're getting this immediate reaction and you're having massive diarrhea, or you're not eat, you're so tired and you're excreting so much and detoxing so much, you don't want to eat, you don't want to drink, you don't want to do anything. Your body will lose certain minerals, will lose energy. It's a place where you have to be kind of a little bit more diligent to get on top of that because you don't want to have that kind of, and I hate the word deficiency, but it's the best word right now, is you don't want to be deficient and then have to recuperate that over the course of how many days, if not weeks. So it also depends on the fortitude of the person if they're willing to kind of go through that, but have, again, it has to be controlled. It has to be observed. It has to be supported.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's the difference in the way I learned is that everything was there in a controlled environment. So we had
Yeah.
dad there. It was always in the clinic. Even at home, obviously, my father was there. So when we were doing these remedies, we needed the
Right.
support.
Right.
Obviously, we had mom with chicken soup, which is the greatest support there probably is.
Right.
But there was a handle on the case, but doing things from a distance like you do. It was certainly not my area of expertise. If I recommended what I was used to doing to somebody from a distance, I'd probably put them through a nervous breakdown, and it would be really an awful experience for them. So it's another reason why it's important the way that you're actually teaching this course. There was one question there's some confusion about how the isopathics are made.
Yes, I
Um,
was just looking at that. I was just literally going to respond to that. Go ahead.
yep, go for it.
Oh, okay. So it's Betty Lewis. Is that the one you were looking at?
Oh, I don't know, it was back in there, but it was
Yeah,
about yes, absolutely.
yeah, right. I'm confused. I thought you were saying that an isopathic remedy is made from your own blood. No, I said an isopathic remedy can be made from your own blood.
Hmm.
Um, isopathic remedies are made to create, and they're made from generally different sources, and most of them I think are vegetable sources, but um, they're generally made to create the specific precursors for the specific fungals or bacterials that science normally sees and that normally exists within us. Um, and so then you're taking the precursory stages of these fungus or bacteria that are normally endogenous or within your body. So yeah, it's not made from your blood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
excellent.
It's good to know. It's yes, we can make it from our blood. Someday we'll do those things, right?
You can make it blood, skin, hair. I mean, you can do it with anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and I think it's neat too, like I said, the idea that at this point, understanding these is one thing, right? Knowing that the company itself is in, they've approached us, teaching protocols and even the manuals and the indications are very different, all right? So this is a real education. This is something very unique that's not out there. And I'm thrilled that we are able to do this with you. I see Anna has a hand up. Yay. And I see your daughter there. Awesome. Hey, hola. Anna, did you have a hand up? Did you want to speak? You're welcome to.
Yes, I wanted to share something because, yeah, we have this course in the university. I'm very happy to have this because we really need resources. And as a scientist, I'm always looking for things. I'm always studying remedies and possibilities to feel better. But in this case, it's a mix between my own experience and the knowledge, what makes me so happy about this. Because as you mentioned, yes, people were 1 week with your father at the clinic, and then you can do the things in a different way. But as Mari was saying, most of her patients, me included, well, we have to deal with a lot of things every day, and we cannot afford to feel sick for a whole week or take a whole week to go to a clinic. So
Yeah.
for me, the experience with these remedies in first person has been awesome because it's like that's a real terrain thing. We all talk about the terrain, we all talk about tools, and we talk about the homotoxicology chart and how the cell is not the basic unit of life, but are the symbionts. And this, for me, starting understanding the pleomorphism in this underlying way that is different than a sense way, and that there are other models too, was like, oh, this is exactly the homotoxicology chart, but explained in two different cycles. You have the first cycle, then you have the second cycle in an acute way, and then in a chronic way. It was like, oh, everything makes sense. And then I started seeing what Mari, because I'm a scientist, so when Mari was telling me, do this and this and this, and when I called her, I was like, oh my God, I need some help. I cannot deal with myself more. This is something that many times happens to the ones we are used to take care of other people, and we think we know how to take care of ourselves, but we don't. And so then Mary was telling me, okay, stop doing this, start doing this, and it was quite quicker than I expected the reaction. But yes, as you were saying, just diluting one pill in a little bit of water and rubbing that around my belly creates such a big reaction in my body. It was like, oh my God, this is crazy. I never thought that putting a little bit of water around my belly button was going to make me crazy during the whole day. I said, okay, just reduce the dose and take it easier. But suddenly things start making sense. You start understanding. And for me, this is the important thing, because when we talk about the terrain, my perspective is that, or in health in general, is like, yes, it's not only that there are no protocols, is that we need to relearn everything. We cannot disconnect the digestive system from the nervous system, from the immune system, from all the systems, because we are a system. And the better you can understand the connection between your liver and your guts or your mucus, or all, and your nervous system, and how your nervous system comes to help you when you didn't find any other way. So finally I understood myself. I understood what I was doing wrong. I'm still doing wrong some things, but I'm getting better because I'm learning. It's not just I take a drop or I take this pill or I do this that Mari told me and that's it. It's like I learned what I was not taking into account. And now I think I'm better in taking care of myself. And then we will see one day I apply that to other people, because I think that your course is also useful for that, to take care of your family and to be able to see what are the main causes and the main paths. Because for me, the most important thing was understanding why my body was having that horrible rush, my whole back rush. There was no cream able to fix that until I could calm down my nervous system. But I couldn't calm down my nervous system because my digestive system was such a mess that unless I stop eating certain things. So it's like it was so beautiful to see the whole process and to understand and to see how, in the most simple way, just with the pleomorphisms, just understanding what your body's trying to do and support your body doing what it's trying to do with the same thing that your body is creating by itself to fix that, is like, I don't want any other remedy now. I don't want any supplement. I don't want any herb. I don't want anything. I know that this is a little bit extreme. I'm a little bit extreme. I will come back to the center. But at this moment, it's like, this has been so extremely simple, useful. And I don't know, it's like I understood. I think I get it. And that is the most beautiful thing that can happen to me, that I'm always in my mind, is like to understand that your body's not making mistakes and to really support your body in doing what the body's trying to do. So for me, having you, Mari, here, having you, Beaglesons, here, that is awesome, because this is the real medicine. This is the real cure. This is the real supporting the body. This is the art of supporting the body so as the body can take care of yourself. So I'm very happy. I say that I come back again as a scientist because I love this research, but also as a patient. And I think it's one of the best knowledge we can have,
That
even
was
if
that
it's
was
just,
that was a great clip. That's the one. And for those of you that are not aware of Ana Maria Oliva, here is from Spain, as you can tell, accent there.
yes.
Research scientist. Anna worked at one of the most famous clinics in all of Europe, and her patients were sheiks and shahs and princes and princesses and things like that. And Anna, you've researched a lot, and
Yep.
isn't it fun now that yes, this is happening?
Yeah, and it's so, I mean, I say it's so simple. It's simple if you understand the context, because this is not about this remedy. What is useful for is understanding how the body really works and how to support the body in doing what it's trying to do. And then when you really start understanding the physiology from the terrain perspective, is absolutely different from everything that we've learned about physiology. And we need to unlearn all that and start understanding things in a different way. So I really encourage you to look for these things and to start checking it, because it can totally change not only your health and your well-being and the people around you, but it's a total change of the way we understand life. And I think that's awesome.
It's really awesome, and I'll tell you guys this too. You know, the more we have used these, the less we have had to use them. All right. The reality is, I have them all right here, and I don't use almost any of them. I've done the homework, I've learned. Mari, this course is not a quick fix, is it? No, this is a real training. And if you really want to begin to understand terrain, you know, Dad's book, Holographic Blood, is one thing. These are the things our dad used. All right. So, Mari, you want to give us a little more as far as who is the course for? Who can take this course, actually, out of
Everybody
curiosity?
can take this course. And I do want to touch upon, there was a question that was really, really good. Clara asked, I'd love to ask how the forms stay fixed in the isopathic solution. That is one thing with pleomorphism that stumps me, given the idea that the form would change as the environment, conditions, terrain changes. So when it's in a bottle, it's actually fixed because the terrain isn't changing. Right? So when you're getting the remedy is in a fixed solution. It's not changing whatsoever. Right? So that's how it's fixed. But the moment it's going within your system, depending upon what's going on in your system, it changes to what the necessary form is needed. So if they're in the course, you're going to understand uh, asexual and sexual reproduction of organisms, right? The what when Enderlein talks about the confrontation of the precursor organisms to the bacteria or fungal forms within your body and what type of communication happens and why the remedy works because of that communication and why you have to take a remedy in a certain amount, right? So if I took one little drop on my tongue and I'm hoping to change something that's massively happening in my body, in my intestinal tract, something it might not change because that little dose isn't going to manifest a change because it's only a bombardment of a small amount of the precursory, the precursory microzymas, the precursory organisms, and that's why sometimes you need to take it over and over and over again. That's different than when you inject it. Injecting is a certain amount directly in the blood. It's a bombardment. It causes a reaction, right? So when you're taking it orally or on the skin, you might have to do it a couple of times because the body needs to be bombarded with this communication of we are here to help. So in within the course, and this again, the course is for everyone because I don't think, and truthfully, it took me a while, and this is not, and I've been doing this for over 20 years, this concept, this understanding. I've practiced the moment I graduated school, I've been practicing with the mindset of this. And it took me that amount of time over and over to teach patients, to teach myself, to be confronted constantly with so many different manifestations of disease to drive it home into my brain so that it is stuck. I can't think any other way. I don't think germ theory way. I don't think the way conventional medicine thinks because it's been just a constant reiteration. I basically MK ultra'd my own brain so that I can't think the way other people think. And so in order to really understand how to use these remedies, you need to understand pleomorphism. You need to understand how the remedies are made. You need to understand how the remedies interact within the body. You need to understand all those different things to really understand how to use the remedies. Because I can tell you what the remedy's for, but then you're going to be like, but I don't understand why it does this. Why does it do that? Why does it do this? Why can't we do this? Why? You're going to have 1,000 questions. You can get, and someone asked about Symbiopath. Symbiopath is a great company. They only make drops. So they only make 4X, I think it is, which is great. It's a good start for a lot of people. But if you go get a remedy going, well, I'm going to experiment myself, you have zero clue as to all the different facets of those remedies. You have zero clue how the remedies interact because there's some remedies you do not put together. There's some remedies you do not take if a person has if they have history of certain, illnesses. You do not take certain remedies with certain medications. These are things that are very important to understand. So you can go out and experiment yourself thinking, oh, these are just they're light dose this and light dose that. And they could very well be for some people, but for others, it can create and manifest a lot of difficulties and a lot of problems because you're stirring the pot. And if you don't understand the body, if you don't understand how pleomorphism works, if you don't understand homotoxicology, if you don't understand how the microzymal forms within your body change and add or subtract the manifestations of what's going on in your body, you're going to have a hard time using them. So for every mom, for every dad, for every practitioner, um, for every person who even already took the course, you this is something like, how do I explain it? You made bread once, right? You put the flour and the water and the eggs and you did it and you made bread. And sometimes it comes out great and sometimes it doesn't. But do it again 10 more times and tell me you got it, right? Do it 15 more times and tell me you got it. Tell me you can don't have to look at the recipe anymore and you can make bread. So that's essentially what's going on, is that you need, unless you have a whole shoe of this remedies and you have a whole lot of clients and you're constantly using it, it's like a language. If you don't keep doing it and you don't keep thinking of it and you don't keep saying it and you don't keep kind of being confronted with it, you lose the art of how to utilize it. You lose the understanding of what needs to be done. And even today, like, what do we just say? Josh told me a remedy for something that I was like, oh, I didn't even think of it that way. Right? So I'm still learning. I'm still going, oh, and we as humans are, I hate the word evolving, but essentially we evolve in the way we adapt. I complimented those words, Josh. So
Yes.
we 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 change the way how we respond to our environment, right? So we don't have polio or measles or smallpox anymore, but we have other manifestations of disease. Why? Because we have different toxins in our environment. We have a different mentality in our environment, which means that what we know, even what I learned on how certain remedies were utilized 20 years ago, may not necessarily work exactly the same way now because we're in a different environment. We have different stimuli, we have different mentalities, we have different chemicals, and we are confronted with different stressors.
Yeah,
So it's
terrain is changing.
exactly, so it's an ever evolving process of learning to know that if you think you know how to, if you think, again, it goes back to the good practitioner. You want to be a good practitioner, you want to be a good home, like you're a mom, you're a wife, you're taking care of your family. You want to be a good caretaker, a good homemaker. You have to evolve with the times in your thinking, in how you provide the care for your family. And the same thing goes for practitioners. You want to be a good healthcare practitioner. If you've been doing it for at least a decade, it's time to kind of pivot a little bit and understand some things that you do are not going to necessarily work as well as they were before because we're in ever changing times.
Yeah, there
Right.
was a couple of real important points there, Mari. One, obviously, it starts with the education. And a few people are piping in on San Pharma remedies. They were trained in San Pharma, and they had designed the remedies different because
Hmm.
they thought, including some of the other stuff would make it too provoking of a remedy.
Yeah,
And I remember talking to the head of San Pharma when he was talking about this, and I said, well, why not just train your practitioners better to utilize these remedies as opposed to dumbing down your remedies and making them weaker?
right.
And it was just kind of silence on that end there. So, but the education. The second part is that's the experience, very experiential. And one of the most important parts of it is just the observation, observing the person, observing how they interact. And I was lucky, Dad was lucky because we just had hundreds and hundreds of guinea pigs. We had people in, you got to see different terrains, different people, different reactions. And then you start to understand, okay, in this situation, I did this and I got this reaction. And that's where the experience is so important. But it starts with the education. And that's why I'm pretty psyched that you're doing the educating these days because it's another one of those things. The isopathics are so near and dear to us, and I've seen a lot of practitioners really not utilizing them correctly to the point where we kind of gave up on even talking about it most of the time until we came across you again. So they're the one of the most beautiful creations we've ever been a part of. Our practice was big, and those were the main remedies we used. To see people out there using a mucocule with a noticule at the same day and the same hour, and not understanding that they might cancel each other out was pretty demoralizing. So definitely sucked that you're the one doing the teaching these days.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's a very relevant point, and I think it's important that we have to appreciate, all the different pioneers that have come, before, who have utilized them and seen the patterns and incorporate the patterns
Yeah,
and appreciated the patterns.
right.
And I think it's, but again, we still have to continue moving forward and again appreciate how the environment has changed, that we have different processes happening. Like I've said to you in conversation in private, that even the cancers are different than they were 15, 20 years ago. So they respond
Right.
different. They're just acting different because we're different. Our environment is different. Right. So, what someone would have done for a specific type of cancer, you know, 20, 30 years ago, probably if they were confronted nowadays with the same type of cancer, it wouldn't be reacting in the same way.
No, even we know where a lot of this work came from back in the day. The terrain was totally different, and they were working a lot with issues that were caused because of a highly acidic environment. Where now we're the opposite side of the spectrum. Now we're in a highly alkaline environment in a lot of ways, and it's very different from when the people who came up who really started this movement. It was a totally different terrain, and like you said, even 10, 15, we talk about this all the time, Ari, because I've been out of the clinics for almost 10 years now, and things have changed so much just in those 10 years. And that's, directly related to what's going on in our environment.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I
Just
think again, it's all about like, practitioners are getting stagnant, and this is where protocols are prisons.
Yeah.
Protocols are absolute prisons because they imprison a practitioner into thinking that this is going to be the thing. And I know people who have done that, and the fire of helping people starts to go out because of the fact that that protocol isn't doing what initially it was started out to do back then.
yeah.
And so they're at a loss because they haven't been practicing an art, they've been practicing a structure. And so they don't know how to adapt to the new way of how the body is reacting to the environment.
Right. And it's a real navigation. There's no guarantees, there's no 1,000% you do this and this is going to happen, as everyone's unique. You got to take some action and observe the reactions. And that's the only way you know what's coming next. Everyone is unique. So you give me the one remedy. There's the one that works with the emotions quite a bit. And Josh, it does really well with him. It loves me. I get tested and my body says yes. And then I say no because it makes me really irritable. Josh gets very happy. And I do, as you guys are talking, I think course is not for everybody. This is not for people who want a miracle, right? This is, yeah,
Yes, right. That's right. That's true.
this is not for people who want to kill things. This is not for people
Or
who just want their protocol and they can incorporate it. However, doesn't it make things simpler? I mean, do you see, Mari,
That
when you got isopathics incorporated in your toolbox, there were other tools that you didn't need so much anymore. This simplifies things, and this really you have to understand. So this really made you learn and understand differently.
I think it's a remedy. Going back to what you said, I don't think this is for people who have deep-seated fear. Like if every single time something comes up and you're going to run to NSAID or an antibiotic or conventional doctor to get a diagnosis, this isn't a course for you because
Right.
it's not. This is more of you're going to go and go, you know what? The way conventional medicine works is a crutch.
Yeah.
It's a crutch, and it limits the thinking of outside the box mentality.
Yeah.
So it's if you're going, well, I just want to do something that's similar to like a conventional Tylenol, like you want to just pop a pill and be like, okay, this is it. Like as Anna said, like I'm gonna take this and this is done. I'm done. Then no, this is not it because this
Right.
is not the way it's not designed in that way. It's designed to understand that it's going to change as long as the terrain changes. So
Yeah.
if you are changing your mentality, changing your diet a bit, or whatever it is that's manifesting that created the manifestation of the symptoms that you're having,
Hmm.
if you're taking a remedy hoping things are going to change, but you didn't change anything else, then it you may get some symptomatic relief, but eventually it's just going to build up, and then what, you're going to be on the remedy for the rest of your life.
Right.
So
Yes.
oh, you have to think holistically.
It doesn't happen often, guys, but every once in a while, as people come through, the process with Josh and I in the blood, and then they get towards Mari, it's not often that someone says, "Well, it didn't work,"
Right.
and
Yeah.
there's always something that starts to shift, but there's that navigation. So this worked, this got better, this is weird, interesting, but I've only had one person, two people, that were kind of like, "Well," and my response was, "Did you do your homework? Did you listen? Did you understand? You didn't. If you took something from Mari, did you exercise? Did you stop, watching horror movies and news all day and eating fried chicken 3 times a week? Those
Right.
types of things, right? It's a
and
real
and
education.
it's sometimes it's not even like I could look at a person's diet and it's pretty good. It's the mentality. It's the
Yeah,
waking up the next day, instead of going, okay, today's a different day, but instead waking up the next day and going, how I think of what's going on in my body, how I think about you know, all the different things, all the different happenings is the same.
yeah,
Then your mentality is just as stuck as your body, and it's just a representation of the stuck body. And again, the remedies themselves can do only so much,
yes, yeah.
right?
That's very important. What do the remedies do? They kind of stimulate what's going on with us internally, but part of the reason we are in the situation we're in is because of what we've done ourselves in the first place. So you can put the remedy in, but once again, if you're not changing habits that got you into that spot in the first place, then there's no point to this. I swear I remember once, Josh, someone saying something to Dad, well, it's okay, I'm just going to come back each month for a Band-Aid. And Dad wasn't happy with that because that's not what we were doing. That's not our profession. We don't give
Right.
people Band-Aids, and that's that.
Right.
Cool. Mari, I know you got to run in the not too distant future here. I was going to say, yeah, this course, it really can be for everybody. Practitioners, if you're a practitioner and you want to simplify things a little bit, if you have a hard time doing that detective work of maybe this or maybe this or maybe this, and you have a million things in the wheelhouse, this can help refine their process, Mari, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And it also gives you a little bit more leverage when you have clients that want to resort to antibiotics or antifungals or anti something. It really is a helpful tool in that regard to get to a place where it stops that cycle, that vicious cycle of suppress and react, because then you can now give something that gives the body a response, and then it would allow for you to now utilize your other tools, and the terrain can actually change and will unlock for them and for you the next level. So sometimes when we have patients that are stuck in a plateau, or
Right.
we ourselves are stuck in this kind of, I have a cold every 4 weeks or 6 weeks because of my lifestyle or my job, it can kind of unlock you so that you can get out of that vicious cycle.
Right, definitely. And it's something I have said to people, the people even that are here. First, pathways of elimination open, things start to shift, and then there's that point where, yep, the plateau, it's like, okay, now it's time for next level. And that's the isopathic experience typically. So I think it's great. It's for practitioners is one thing. It's for moms, it's for Anna to work with herself. It's for Anna to work with the kids. This really is something that is going to deepen people's understanding of the terrain, big
Absolutely.
time.
And it gives you a good baseline of understanding just in general, like the pleomorphism and where we should be thinking. Like where I've been thinking almost, I would say, half my life now,
Hmm.
and where you should be thinking, because automatically I guarantee you, all of you that are listening and watching, someone has a sore throat. It's red. It's got the white spots on it. The first thing that you guys think of is going to be strep, right? But you shouldn't be thinking of strep as an invasion. You shouldn't be thinking of strep as an aggressor. You shouldn't be thinking of strep as something that is causing it or something malicious or pathogenic. Look at it as a marker. The moment you can shift that mentality to organisms as markers, as signposts, as guides as to what you need to do and to support the body, that's when you've shifted your mentality away from the aggressive, warlike mentality of the germ theory.
Definitely, definitely, definitely. Cool. With that being said, for some of you people where you're hearing the word isopathic for the first time, or pleomorphism, or homotoxicology, as you do this course, you will get some of that information in this course. Yes. Some of you guys have taken the courses with Josh and I, where we really give you a nice foundation. If you've taken our courses, Mari's course is awesome. If you haven't taken our courses, well, take our courses. Mari's course is awesome. All right. You're going to get pieces from our course in Mari's course. I think our signature lecture is there, which is important. And at the same time, it's if this is intriguing to you and you're not quite ready for that, that's okay. Join us with the School of Health or something. Get one of Dad's books. You'll get that foundation. All right. We love to have these conversations. It's it's important. Anna has seen things change with this. Josh has seen people's lives change with this. All right. Mari is, I don't know anyone else that understands it in a way anywhere close to what we're talking about that can be taught. All right. So if this is something that interests you, this is the only place to really get it. It really is. All right. Isopathics is not about killing. All right, we're not treating labels, the little notes. It's not a training course. It's like the course is a training. It's not a protocol experience. All right. So if you're ready to really embrace this a little differently on a deeper level, just the idea of Josh talks about penicillin, right, was such a big discovery, a germ by people that believe germs are the problem. One of the remedies we use is the waste product of penicillin. And that has the same properties and the same effects with zero negative side effects. Even people that are allergic to penicillin can use this. If you want to know more, this is the place for that. All right. Anna, you want to add anything there? And then, real quick, I was going to say, Josh, I don't know if you mentioned either the Jeremy or Poppy experience, which I think are both kind of good ones to just give examples on both sides of the spectrum.
Hmm.
And then, yes. And Mari, if there's anything else you want to say too. For you guys watching, listening, it will be recorded if you missed it. We'll send out some information so you can find out more about the course. You'll start getting some emails about that. But other thoughts before we end up wrapping this one
No,
up?
I just wanted to mention this, the technical part, that yes, you will receive the recording tomorrow. It will have the subtitles in Spanish too. And you will also receive the link with the information for the course. And as always, as we always do in the University of Terrain, once you have a course, when you are students of a course, you can always come back. So for those of you that have already done this course with Dr. Mari, you know that you can come back again and continue, because it's very rich for all of us to come back and share the experience after 1 year. And for the people listening, this is something that we always do. You always have the permanent access to all the courses that we do. And I think that's it.
Cool. Yes. So just to make sure that's clear, guys, you sign up for the course. Josh and I do a course. Mari's course has been done once already. Everyone that's already taken her course is invited back to every live webinar that's done. All right, you get access to the content and you have access to that. So if it's not that you can digest it right then, that's fine. Or even as practitioners, terrain changes, keep coming back. All right, we've had our course for 4 years, Josh and I. We've had people show up every year. And there's always new topics and always new conversations. So thank you for that one, Anna. Cool. All right, Mari, thoughts?
No, I look forward to seeing everyone who wants to add more tools to their toolkit, more powerful tools to their toolkit, and not feel that they're beholden to taking the conventional medicines when there are, intense health issues. So, again, we want to be empowered. We want to have the tools. We don't want to run to the doctor for an antibiotic or something. We want to be able to do it and see consequences, see good consequences, see good results. So I look forward to those of you who are willing to kind of take the next step and add to your toolkit.
Yes,
Look
and be
forward
And
to it.
just
cutting.
one last thing, because of one of the questions that I've seen in the chat, is that yes, all of our courses they have pre-recorded content, so as you can watch that over the week at your own pace, and then we have live webinars, and all are with the open mic and the open camera, and I always say the open heart. So because some people do webinars and they are just a chat, and you can just like now more or less, let's say, but you know that we all also have your camera on because we love seeing your faces, so you can directly interact and do all kind of questions, and you will always have your mic and your camera to do that. It's not just one chat or one email. There are pre-recorded lessons, and then there are the live webinars, so as you can ask everything you need always.
Very
Uh,
interactive.
there was a question, do I meet with people in person? Yes, I do. So if you want to find me and you have questions, personal questions or things like that, it's terraindoctor.com. Very simple to remember.
Yeah.
You can't miss it. So
Yes.
yeah, so I would suggest I'm going to leave now. So, like it's like and Anna should know this. Our goodbyes are Hispanic goodbyes are like 2 hours long. So I'm going to goodbye for real.
Nice.
But yes, find me if you need me. You'll see me soon anyway when you're taking the course. And if you're not taking the course, you can contact me through terraindoctor.com. Okay,
Yes.
guys. And don't forget another good, the Biggleson courses are great for your understanding of terrain. My book also really good grasp on understanding microzymas and pleomorphism. Germs are not our enemy. Very simple, because they're not. Goodbye, guys. Have a beautiful day. I look forward to seeing all of you in class. Have a great day.
Nice. Hasta luego, Mari. And the music continues playing, and Mari has left the building. Yay. Cool. No, it's really nice that we have come across Mari with this whole experience. It's with Josh and I, as we are teaching what we do with understanding the terrain and where we fit into that whole experience, this is a big piece of that puzzle. And, there are points in time where I've wondered, we don't have resources for certain things. And I wonder as I look up at the sky and think maybe this is the time for us not to share some of these things. All right. But this course is happening and you guys are listening. And if you're a practitioner, this is something that's going to set you apart. People are not doing this. And if there are people doing it, I'm not very aware of them. And many of the ones that are doing it are doing the ridiculous protocols anyways. Right. So really no pressure with it. Josh, I would like you to let's just chat real quick and let's talk about a couple things that we've seen on both ends of that spectrum. Good and potentially crazy.
Yeah.
So tell them real
Yes.
quick a couple quick stories, Josh.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, we've talked about how powerful these remedies can be, and I have this is not something that Mara is going to be teaching in her initial course, that's for sure, but I've seen them utilized in trauma situations with very good effects. I have watched people be pulled out of heart attacks with remedies. I've watched people be pulled out of strokes with these remedies. Not that we ever want to see that happening. And that's certainly not going to be part of Mari's initial course, but that does show the power and strength of these remedies if used correctly. And adversely, I've seen them be able to potentially cause, other effects as well. So let's talk about, first of all, I had a friend come out from back east, said he had colitis. We said, no problem, come on out and see us. And as he walks through the door, it's pretty apparent that something major is wrong with him. He has so much edema and his legs were so swollen that he actually had trouble walking. Right. So I took a drop of his blood and we just sent him we had the nurse take him to the hospital. We knew something majorly was wrong with him. When I looked at his white count, my guess was 18, 20,000. Like the white count was very, very, very high. So, now my first thought initially is okay, for us, we can really figure out the remedies that the person needs by looking at the blood. It dictates certain remedies. And if I just would have went off my first glance, I would have said, okay, well, let's go. We got to lower this. We got to balance out this white count. So I would have gone to something like a penicillin, a Notakeel, which does drop your capillary circulation. So then, luckily, I realized by looking at him that his circulation was very bad, was very bad. If I would have given him that remedy, he potentially could have had a stroke right in front of my eyes, right? And
Yeah.
it was a sobering thought. My first thought, oh, white count, okay, let's do this. If I would have went by the protocols, I would have given him something that could have stroked him out right there, and then that would have been it. But luckily, I knew enough about my trainings to be cautious and look a little deeper. And yeah, thank God I didn't give him that remedy because obviously something major could have happened. So there's certain remedies you don't give to people if their circulation is poor and you give them something that's going to drive their capillary circulation, you could do some major harm. The opposite side of things, flying back east years ago to visit Grandpa and visit some of the great corned beef they have in New York. And as we actually get there, Grandpa's having a stroke. Right, and everybody's panicking. Dad's brother, rest in peace, was a real doctor who literally knew nothing about health. Right, so they're running around. The paramedics are on the way. We just walk right past Grandpa and go down because there's corned beef on the table. Right,
Roast beef, yeah,
so
corned
we
beef.
sit down. We start eating our corned beef, and Dad just kind of looks up and goes, "Well, should I go save him?" Right. So Dad goes over with an isopath, and of course his brother's getting away. No, no, you can't do that. And Dad's like, "Listen, okay, I'm gonna do something here. It's gonna help. It can't hurt him." And then, and his brother's like, okay, if you do this, then I'll believe in what you do and blah, blah, blah. So dad gives him a capsule. Paramedics come in, take him away, right? We go back to our corned beef. And what is maybe 10 minutes later or something? Here comes grandpa back out of the ambulance. By the time they got in the ambulance, everything had normalized and stabilized. And 15 minutes later, he's sitting eating corned beef with us.
Yeah,
Right. So different sides of the spectrum. To this day, even watching that, is my dad's brother never believed in what he did,
right.
which was sad. But yeah, so I've seen those remedies used in trauma situations. My dad was, he was a he was a surgeon. He was a trauma surgeon in Vietnam. He was trained for these situations. I was not trained for those situations, and most people are not trained for those situations. But if people who are trained to work with those things, these can be very complementary as well. But under the wrong circumstances, you can put the wrong remedy, it's going to be a very different reaction, potentially a very, very major reaction.
Yeah, definitely. And part of it is I wanted you guys to hear just a couple of those real stories from us so you see both ends of that. Um, I am really thrilled to know that this information is getting out. All right. As we had 100 people here today, awesome. Mari's courses, our courses, we get maybe 20 people, 40 at the most sometimes. Small groups of people, but the right groups of people. All right. So really with you guys, it's not a pressure thing. This information is here for you. And if you're ready for it, awesome. If you want to dip your toes in the water, we've got other things. Like I said, Josh and I, we do webinars each month, our School of Health, just conversations with some guests and things like that. But really awesome to have you guys here today. I want to let you go, enjoy your day, not keep you forever so your heads don't explode with this information. But keep us posted if you got questions and thoughts and concerns. The course will answer a lot of that. All right. Anna, is there anything else we want to say as far as people will get some information on that? And really, thanks for listening and that kind of stuff. No, she's just shaking her head. No. Okay. All right. Well,
No,
Well,
good
there was
stuff
a
then.
question. There was a question
Yeah.
too about the courses. Can you ask questions? All of the courses in this university, or all the courses that we give and Mari gives, are there's a lot of interaction going on. They're live courses. We do try to keep them to a smaller group so we can interact with people. If
Mhm.
people have been part of our courses or come to our School of Health, it's highly interactive.
Yeah.
With here, we've got a group of 100 some odd people. There's only so much interaction you can do. With the classes, we keep them to a smaller group. We can interact. We get to know people. And that's a big part of it because it's a discussion. I don't want to sit there and just watch a talking head for an hour.
No.
I want to be able to interact, and the discussions are what's a lot of fun.
Right. And I haven't, I personally haven't taken many courses like this. Anna, we have heard that our courses are very unique this way. We want to get to know you guys. All right. We want
Yes,
to hear your
they are
voice.
very unique. They are not, yes. Most of the courses, they just have a chat
Yeah.
and nobody, the teachers don't know you, but we've done it in a way that we know you.
Yeah,
We know who you are.
it's really been fun. If any one of you guys have been in our courses, the thumbs up, right? Very interactive. Yes, nice. You
Yeah.
get the thumbs up there. Really
I'm proud of it. Yes.
good. Me too. Me too. All right, you guys. Well, with all this being said, really thank you for being here with us today. It's even if you just got to listen to this and this is all you're getting today, you're not taking the course, that's fine. All right. Keep studying the terrain. Look at nature. The reality is, Josh and I, Anna and I, Mari and I, all of us, we're not here to convince anybody. The terrain is the way it works, and it's up to people to really start to see it and understand it. And we're here to support you on that journey. All right. So, thank you guys for coming here from all around the world. Awesome. Really nice to have you here. I get chills with this. All right. I hope to see you at more of our courses. I'll be there with the Mari course for sure. Josh will be there putting his 2 cents in. And enjoy your day, guys. Joy is very important. This is our big homework for every course. 10 minutes of joy every day is minimum because it's good for your health. You've earned it and you deserve it. And if this was a joy for you, this counts, but tomorrow is a whole new day. All right? So 10 minutes of joy every day, guys. With that being said, enjoy your day. All right? Hasta luego. Patricia, good to see you there. And yes, and Ruth and awesome. Kay, I saw David Barbarisi come in at the last minute. Good stuff, guys. Like I said, someday barbecue's at my house, right? Tacos are on me. Yeah. Cool. All right, guys. Hasta luego. Enjoy. Onward and upward.